Season 2 of Rings of Power is coming really close, and there has been a lot of brand new stuff released since we first saw the teaser trailer. This came in the form of pictures, behind the scenes and trailers. In this video we're going to cover 3 major topics, and the first one is the brand new characters that have been announced for Rings of Power Season 2. In the second part of the video we're going to go and take a look at the visuals, the story that has taken place, and give a little bit of commentary along the way. And finally, last but not least, we're going to take a look at the behind the scenes stuff that they have released during these videos. First of all, I'm going to tell you there is a huge spoiler warning right here, because we're going to discuss these topics, discuss these characters. So let me know in the comment section if you are excited for Rings of Power Season 2. So let's go and begin with the first part of the video. Here we're going to discuss the brand new characters that have been announced. In this part I'm going to go strictly to the characters that we know from the books, that we know a little bit of background of what their role is going to be, not the characters that are specially made for the Rings of Power series. We have 8 different characters that we're going to cover. Let's first of all start with the main villain of this season. Well, actually of the entire Rings of Power, and that is Anatar, the sharer of gifts. And I found this really particular. We saw him tell Celebrimbor, "I'm a sharer of gifts." Well, actually Anatar means Lord of Gifts. So this could be that there's something to do with the rights, but I'm not quite sure. I really enjoy his look, how he looks, Charlie Vickers. He looks really good as Anatar. It has a lot of provocation that he is just the same actor wearing a wig. I just think that Amazon did this so the people would instantly recognize who Sauron is. They already did who is going to be Sauron in Season 1, so I do believe that they are not going to do this again for Season 2. Sauron can change his appearance, so you could easily use another actor to play Anatar this season. But I do believe that they just did this because you can instantly recognize that he is Sauron. But to Celebrimbor and the other elves, he would look entirely different. What I also would like to say about Anatar, what a lot of people think about him, is that this is the villain that we want from Season 1. We wanted to see this Anatar in Season 1, not Halbrand. So this is just my personal opinion, and I think a lot of you can share this with me. Then the next character we're going to cover is Círdan, the shipwright. I was so excited when I first saw his picture coming online on X. This is one of the amazing characters that Tolkien has created. He is always there, always aiding the people of Middle-earth, but not in such a huge part that you see him all the time. He's there in the first age, the second age, and even the third age. And I really love his story. And if you are wondering why he has a beard in this series, well, that is actually because he is even that old. He is one of the first elves born at Lake Cuvienen. Next on the list is going to be a dwarf. Actually, he's going to be named Narvi. And Narvi, you might not know him, but you do know his work. Together with Celebrimbor, he created the Doors of Durin that we see during the Fellowship of the Ring, when they tried to enter Moria through the West Gate. I'm really excited to see this collaboration between elves and dwarves to create these amazing Doors of Durin that will prove the test of time and still work perfectly thousands of years later at the end of the Third Age. I have a little fear, if I might be honest, about the creation of the Doors of Durin. In the trailers, in the behind the scenes stuff, we see a lot of collaboration between Anatar and Celebrimbor, and I'm worried that there won't be enough time for Narvi and Celebrimbor to evolve their friendship, because we haven't seen Narvi in Season 1 and the doors have to be created before the end of Season 2, so it has to happen this season. Fourth on the list is the second wizard. It has been announced that there's going to be a second wizard in Rune. I'm 90% sure that he is the second blue wizard. I know that a lot of people think that the stranger is actually Gandalf, and the second wizard that has been announced looks a lot like Saruman, so he must be Saruman. Gandalf and Saruman returning to Rings of Power, but that is, in my eyes, not the case. The 2 blue wizards went to Middle-earth to aid the free peoples of Middle-earth, and they went to the east, to Rune. And there are 2 wizards in Rune this season. It's only logical that they would use the blue wizards. Now to the 5th character that I want to mention is Tom Bombadil. And okay, his jacket is blue, his boots are yellow, it's not bright blue, but in my case that is okay. You can't have 100% accuracy from the books to the movies. We have seen this with Peter Jackson, where a lot of characters has been changed as well, that it's not really possible to recreate them exactly as they were described in the books. I'm not honestly quite sure how I feel about Tom Bombadil, because he is this happy, merry, rhyming, singing fellow that doesn't really care about what happens outside of his home. And here we see him talking to the stranger, giving him advice, not really singing or rhyming or something in that kind, something that let us show that this is really Tom Bombadil. On the 6th on this list we have not one character but the stores. Recently we have seen a picture on X about the stores being released, added for season 2 of the Rings of Power. The stores are like an ancient race of the hobbits that lived near the waters near the Gladden Fields, and Smeagol is a descendant from these people. I'm not really sure what their story is going to be in this season. It's already getting a lot of stuff happening. I was really happy that the Harfoots were ended after season 1, that is just Nori going with the stranger to Rune. So I'm really wondering why they are bringing the stores in right here, so I'm not really excited to see them. Then next is the Barrow Whites. They look terrifying and I think they are created really well. I'm not really sure what their story is going to be, because they are pretty much a third age thing. When there was war between the kingdom of Arnor and Angmar, this is when the Barrow Whites were created by the Witch King, and since we're here in the second age, Arnor wasn't even a kingdom yet. There isn't even talk about Arnor, so I'm really curious how they're going to work with the Barrow Whites, how they're going to be created, and what their story is going to be. But I'm really excited to see them because they are looking amazing. And next and final on the list are the Entwives. Maybe a lot of you too weren't really expecting to see the Entwives in the Rings of Power. They are indeed one of the characters that played during the Second Age, but not a huge part. If you take a look at the map, you see the Brownlands. And these are actually where the Entwives' garden used to be. Sauron burned the gardens of the Entwives because he wanted to stall the last alliance coming to attack Mordor. So this is the moment that the Entwives were getting lost and Treebeard couldn't find him anymore. So it's fun to see their story play out. I'm really excited to see them actually, but honestly I wasn't really expecting to see Entwives at all. But I'm really excited that they're there and they are well fit for the story. And there we have the first chapter of our video. Let me know in the comments which character are you most excited for to see. So next up in the video we're going to take a deeper dive at some of the scenes that we see during the trailers and during the behind the scenes videos. First of all, I want to tell you that I'm really glad that Galadriel is indeed telling the other elves, telling Gil-galad, telling Elrond who Halbrand really is. And that he is actually Sauron, because I feared for that a little bit at the end of season 1 when she returned to Elrond and Celebrimbor in the smithies of Eregion. She didn't really tell them that Halbrand was actually Sauron. I'm really happy that she's going to tell them that it's just not a secret that she wants to keep for herself, because that is not the Galadriel that we know and love. The story that they're going to go with is that they first of all created the 3 Elven Rings, and then they're going to create the 7 Dwarven Rings, and then the 9 rings for men. Originally in the books they created first of all the 16 rings for the elves. After Sauron had departed, or Annatar has departed from Eregion, they created 3 more rings. And Sauron created the 1 ring and put it on his finger. The elves immediately noticed that they were all deceived. So they hid the 19 rings and distributed the 3 elven rings, the 3 rings that were not touched by Annatar. 1 went to Gil-galad, 1 to Círdan, and 1 to Galadriel. So here the story is completely different, and although they have done a lot of changes to the season 2, that they have listened to the community after their reaction on season 1, they couldn't change this. They already set this in motion. Elven rings were created first, so they have to go with the story, so we can't really change anything about this. But you can clearly see that they are going to give the 7 rings to the Dwarf Lords. We know that Durin the Third from the trailers wears one of the rings. In a behind the scenes video, even Durin the Fourth gets a letter from Celebrimbor that he is asked within Eregion for something big, which is going to be the Rings of Power. In the trailer we see even Anatar and a vision of the Balrog, which I'm really excited for because I think that Anatar is going to show this vision to the dwarves that they need their Rings of Power to protect their kingdoms against such an evils as the Balrogs that can come to life. I really hope to see during this meeting with the dwarves and the distribution of the 7 dwarven rings that we can see some other dwarf lords from other dwarven kingdoms, not just the dwarves from Khazad-dûm. But I also want to talk about with the ring that was given to Durin III, we can clearly see that he becomes greedy, that he wants to have more. And at a certain point in the trailer you can see these giant bats flying in Khazad-dûm. And I just think that maybe this is because they already dug too deep to gather mithril. Because we know from Gandalf there are a lot of nameless things roaming deep beneath Khazad-dûm. And maybe these giant bats are one of them. So I'm really excited to see this, wondering how this story is going to evolve for the dwarves. This is going to be also a major part of the story, just seeing what the ring is doing to its bearer. One other thing, a small thing I have noticed from one of the behind the scenes videos where Pharazôn talks about some of the rituals that are going to take place in Númenor. You saw his name pop up on the screen, that it was actually R. Pharazôn. And I had to look back in the previous interviews from season 1, there was never R. Pharazôn, it was just Pharazôn. So I do believe that in season 2 we're going to see the crowning of Pharazôn and claim the title of R. Pharazôn, the Golden. Really excited to see this story pop out and seeing R. Pharazôn taking power, taking control. We can all agree that the armor from season 1 looks really plain. It wasn't really that glorious for the elves. You see the elves and you think, yeah, they must have some powerful armor, some really good looking armor. That also goes from the Man of Númenor. When we take a look at Elendil from season 1, his armor was just dull and didn't really look like some armor from the greatest realm of men. And I do think that they're improved quite enormously for season 2. We have seen some shots from Elrond wearing his armor. It looks so good, it fits him so well, and the detail on it is mind-blowing. We also saw in one of the behind the scenes videos that Gil-galad is wearing the same armor as Elrond as well. My first reaction of him seeing this armor was like, yeah, it doesn't really fit him. I thought of him more like something more majestic, something bigger than the ones that Elrond wears. Because he is indeed the High King of the Elves. And last but not least, I want to talk a little bit about the Battle of Eregion. This is a battle that is going to cover a couple of episodes during this season. I'm not going to talk too deep into it, but the siege of Eregion looks really cool. All the orcs going to battle to destroy Eregion. Elrond coming with a host of elves to help the elves of Eregion. One of the scenes at the end of the trailer, when Damrod comes, this mountain troll, wow, looks really cool. I really enjoyed the look of this troll, really excited for this as well. There has been a lot of comments from season 1, including from me myself. Most of the elves have short hair, which is not really something that is right. In the books of Tolkien, all the elves have long hair, and I don't really see the point in changing it. Sometimes you need to change stuff from book to movie or from book to series, because reading it in a book or seeing it on a big screen is entirely different. With elves having short hair isn't really doing any benefit. Seeing now every elf in the background, okay, we can't have Celebrimbor or Elrond with long hair because we have seen them in season 1 with short hair. But all the other elves you see in the background have all long hair. So I'm really excited that they have listened to the community and changed this. It's just a minor thing, but it is a huge thing that they changed this because you can see that they listen to the community, and that gives me hope for season 2. And for this final part of this video, we're going to look at the behind the scenes videos. And there are a lot of things that I want to mention from these videos. First of all, I think they have published a ton of behind the scenes videos. I think there are 4 or 5 behind the scenes with extra scenes from the Rings of Power. I think that they did this because they want to show the haters of the show what they have done to create the orcs, to create the prosthetics, to create the battle whites, to create the Rings of Power itself. And I think that they have done in that case really good by showing this just playing open card, see, this is how he do it, this is how he creates all these things, and I think that in that case was really good. There are a lot of things that I want to talk about from these videos, and one of them is the creation of the battle whites. As I mentioned with the first part of this video, they look freaking amazing, and the creation of them is nonetheless how their masks were created, the prosthetics, and then their movements adjusted in the editing. It just looked really good, and I'm really excited, like I said before, to see them come to life, although I don't really know what their story is going to be. Then one of the other things that I noticed and I really enjoyed is John Howe, the artist that also worked on The Lord of the Rings from Peter Jackson, drawing these rings, these dwarven rings, and he talks a little bit about the creation of rings, what their symbolism is, and why Tolkien used rings in his story. This shows that they are indeed drawing these things, they are working on the designs, thinking how to make them, how to create these beautiful rings that the elves of Eregion create. Just seeing the dedication to it already brings joy to my heart. And then in the same video we see Charles Edwards, who plays Celebrimbor, being taught how rings are actually made in real life. He's shown this and he's taught this as well. So I really think this adds to the series, this adds to the story, that Charles Edwards has a basic understanding on how rings are actually made in the real world. This is just some dedication to the series, to the story, which I really enjoyed. There was a behind the scenes video where Bear McCreary, who creates the music for the series of the Rings of Power, made a special anthem for Damrod the Stone Giant. This is really amazing to see how his mind works, how he thought, yeah, okay, for this character we need a really hard metal-y kind of vibe. I have some positive hopes for Rings of Power Season 2. I can clearly see that there is much improvement in the story, the little details that they can change. I'm really excited to go and start Season 2. And don't forget to subscribe to the Table of Durin to watch these breakdowns of each episode from the Rings of Power. We have talked a lot about the creation of the rings, about Annatar and Celebrimbor working together to create these Rings of Power. I really haven't talked about why the elves wanted to create these Rings of Power in the first place, why they listened to Annatar's guidance to create these rings. And in this video, I'm going to tell you all about it. So enjoy the next one. Bye bye.